the small, sleepy town of Maple Ridge, Connecticut, a place where streetlights flickered softly against the cool autumn air and houses were still left unlocked. 12-year-old Owen had always felt a sense of security. The town was close-knit, a true community where everyone knew each other's names, and the children could roam the streets with no fear. Halloween had always been one of Owen's favorite nights. Mischievous fun, friends, and more candy than they could ever possibly eat. It was October 31st, 2012, when everything changed. Owen, along with his friends Ellie, Max, and Jake, had planned the night for weeks. They all lived in the same neighborhood, and this year, they decided to wear homemade superhero costumes. Owen as Captain America, Ellie as Spider-Woman, Max as Thor, and Jake as the Hulk. They had brought pillowcases to collect their candy, believing they could fill them to the brim with sweet treasures. The town was quiet. Most of the other kids too old for trick-or-treating had either abandoned the tradition or were off at wild parties. This left the neighborhood's elderly residents as their main source of candy. They began their rounds at dusk, collecting large amounts of candy from the homes along the main street, each of them feeling more invincible as their bags grew heavier. By the time they reached the last few houses, the night had deepened and the streets had started to empty. The wind had picked up, sending leaves swirling through the air. It was 11:30 p.m. when Owen glanced at his watch and realized that they had only 30 minutes left to make it home by midnight.
I should head back soon,
Owen said, turning to the others. He had promised his parents he would be home by midnight, but as he turned to speak, he noticed a black car parked at the curb, just off the main street. The car was sleek, well-maintained, a stark contrast to the beat-up vehicles that usually dotted the town.
Hey kids!
A voice called out from the darkness. The man sitting in the driver's seat of the car waved with a toothy grin. He was tall, with dark, well-groomed hair and piercing blue eyes. His smile was unnervingly wide, his teeth too white against the dim light. Ellie, always the outgoing one, was the first to respond.
Hey there, mister.
She waved back.
What's up?
The man's smile widened even more, and his voice was smooth, almost too smooth.
You kids should be heading home soon, huh? It's getting late.
Max looked down at his bulging pillowcase.
We're good! We've still got time!
He said, his voice muffled by his Thor helmet.
We're just about to hit the last block!
The man chuckled.
You sure do have a lot of candy there.
He said, his eyes flicking to each of them.
Tell you what, I've got a couple of king-size bars right here.
With a flick of his hand, he opened the passenger side door and pulled out a plastic bag, revealing the shiny wrappers of Snickers and Milky Ways. Jake's eyes widened.
King size? No way!
He ran over without a second thought.
Thanks, mister.
Ellie followed suit, eager for a treat. Owen stood still, his stomach tightening as a strange feeling of unease crawled up his spine. There was something off about the man. Something wasn't right.
Come on, Owen.
Jake called out, already stuffing a candy bar into his mouth.
It's free, don't be a jerk.
Owen hesitated. His parents' warning about never accepting rides from strangers flashed in his mind. Even in a place like Maple Ridge, he knew better than to trust someone so eager. But the other kids didn't seem to have any concerns, and as they eagerly devoured their candy, the man beckoned again.
You sure you don't want some? I've got plenty more inside.
I really need to go
Owen said, stepping back from the car.
My mom's gonna kill me if I'm not home by midnight.
The man gave him a disappointed look.
Don't be like that.
He said, his voice turning cold.
I've got a whole bag of treats waiting for you. What's the harm in a little detour?
Owen's heart began to race. Something about the way the man looked at him made his skin crawl. Without another word, Owen turned to leave.
Leave him alone.
The man called after him with a strange finality.
I've only got enough for 3 of you anyway.
That was it. Owen didn't need any more signs. He turned on his heel and began walking away quickly, keeping his head down, trying not to look back. His heart thudded in his chest as he picked up his pace. The others didn't follow. They were too engrossed in the candy.
Come on, dude, don't be such a buzzkill.
Jake yelled after him. Owen didn't look back, even as the car's engine started up behind him. He kept walking, his thoughts swirling, unable to shake the man's smile from his mind. When Owen made it home just before midnight, his parents were waiting for him. His mom immediately started going through his candy, inspecting it with practiced eyes.
How was your night?
His dad asked. But when Owen told them about the man in the car, Reggie Smith, his parents exchanged a glance, their faces draining of color.
That's the guy.
His father said under his breath. His mother quickly picked up the phone. Before Owen could ask any more questions, a police officer was knocking at the door. The officer took his statement and then, without a word, turned to leave, but not before his radio crackled.
Car 2, suspect sighted. Proceed with caution, armed and dangerous. Over.
Owen was frozen with fear as the officer reassured him.
Don't worry, kid. We'll take care of this.
The officer turned to his partner.
Stay with him. I'll take the lead.
By morning, Owen's father returned, looking exhausted but determined.
They cornered him in the old MacArthur place.
He said, his voice rough.
He shot himself rather than be taken in. But it wasn't just him. There were signs of something more.
Owen didn't understand until later. Reggie Smith was more than just a strange man with a van. His body had been found with signs of brutal, unexplained injuries, broken ribs, fractured bones, and severe internal trauma that didn't line up with his self-inflicted gunshot wound. But there was more, much more. Owen's friends, Ellie, Max, and Jake, were never found. No trace of them, no sign of where they had gone. Owen tried not to think about it, but one night, just before his 16th birthday, he received a letter. It was from Max. The handwriting was unmistakable. The letter described the horrors they had gone through, the things Reggie Smith had done to them before he finished with them. And then there was the part that kept Owen awake at night. The man didn't have a gun, but someone bigger made sure he didn't get away. Years later, Owen married, and when his daughter Lily was born, he swore to never let her out of his sight. Halloween, the one night that used to be so full of joy, became the one night he feared. He could never shake the memory of the man's smile, the coldness in his eyes. And every year, Owen bought Lily the biggest bag of candy he could find, just to keep her safe. But one question still haunted him. Who or what had stopped Reggie Smith that night? Why had his body shown signs of being violently crushed? And why did no one